Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our Digital Dialogue series. This afternoon, I'm joined by new build expert, brokerage expert, all-round industry oracle, I would say, Barin Cardenas, founder and very active CEO of YachtCreators in the US. Barin, how's it going?
It's going well until you started saying all those things, and now I feel like I have to live up to them. But
well, obviously we've had many a conversation over the years, and we've known each other, and I'd like to think share some similar viewpoints. And you've certainly given me a lot of insight into a lot of areas of the customer journey, let's call it. And obviously, the opening contributor to our recent buyer journey. So yours is a view I trust. And I think as sort of kick things off, as is so often the case, the world is watching the US at the moment. Obviously, the primary source of clients for our industry. And I believe the election has taken yet another turn just within the last hour, and news from Georgia. As we begin to move towards a level of certainty with the election result, how do you think it's going to affect spending and buying power within the industry's primary market?
Wow, you started off with an easy one, right? So, well, to be clear, there's not that much certainty right now on the elections and day to day. There seemed to be on the actual election day, then another one on the following day, and then it's kind of seesawed every single day. We feel like it's going to be defined, and then there's another challenge or something going on. So I think that as a whole, our clients are very sophisticated people. They run businesses. They've created wealth, to the point where they can actually afford the things that we build for them. So they are looking over at these things on a global level. They're thinking, what are they going to mean for us, whether it's one candidate that wins or another candidate that wins? What's it going to mean for taxes, for job growth? Obviously, this year specifically, or these times, what will it mean for how the government handles COVID, and whether there be any lockdowns again or any kind of interruptions to business? That's a really big concern for our clients. It's not just the ideology of one political side or the other, as it has been in previous elections. I think this year is more polarizing because of COVID and what has been up until now a very strong tax-friendly administration, which has spurred quite a bit of growth in our industry in the last 4 years, and what may actually change, But then again, it might not change. And then coming on the heels of a devastating COVID pandemic, where many businesses were hurt, it might not actually change as much as we normally would see on a different election year. So the overall thinking from our clients right now is, am I still going to be able to have cash flow? Am I still going to be able to do what I want to do? Can I still grow? Is there an opportunity to grow right now? Sometimes what happens when you see uncertainty and volatility in the market is that people won't necessarily be nervous about it. They'll actually see an opportunity to grow, by either acquisitions of other companies or by investments in different areas. And when our clients' attention goes towards growing their net worth as opposed to playing with their net worth, it's not a good thing for us. I always say the same thing, and it's like people react well for our business when everything else is boring. If there's not a lot going on and there's not a lot of opportunities to either lose or gain or anything, they'll want to go and spend time designing a boat and playing with the boat and the creating process. So I actually like it when things stable off and they become a little boring. Right now, there's a bit of uncertainty, which is not good for new builds. Actually, it's my feeling, because new builds are far more time consuming than brokerage boats. New build, as the development, finding the designers, finding the time to go and meet with people and figure out which shipyard you're going to build at, all that is time consuming, even if a client is hands off. because they want to be a part of that.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm completely in agreement. So I think this year, probably more than any, I found myself using the turn of phrase, out of adversity arises opportunity. And obviously that market volatility can present real challenges for us as an industry, but it can present opportunities in equal measure. So your experience, obviously, because you have this rather unique insight into both the sales market and the new build market, what are you saying that maybe we're seeing, or COVID has created a dynamic where the new build market or new orders within that market are slowing down, but that business is transferring to a more active resale market?
Oh, absolutely. The brokerage market has been extremely hot in the U.S., in the Americas. I can't speak for Europe as well because obviously for obvious reasons we haven't been able to travel. So,
yeah.
But we are seeing a lot of boats being imported from Europe for American buyers that we might not have always seen. So the U.S. market as a whole has been depleted of brokerage opportunities, I think, to some extent. You know, there's still quite a few boats that come in and trades and so forth, but the actual boats that people were looking to buy, the best ones, the best deals, the best kept ones, those have been going like crazy. We've had one of the busiest years that we've ever had. After, let's say, April or May, when our marinas were opened up again in Florida specifically. The Bahamas has been a challenge for us because they closed down almost in a 24-hour notice. So it has made it difficult for people to plan ahead. I think the charter business is probably going crazy over this, you know. But on the brokerage market, it has been a massive opportunity. I think it's simple, though. I mean, it's social distancing and luxury and still being able to be free when you're in a boat. You know, you're away from people. A lot more meals are being had on boats than on restaurants for obvious reasons. You're limited to the amount of people that you can bring, so you don't feel bad about not having friends and people around for gatherings at your home or going to gatherings, different things. So boating has been fantastic as an escape for a lot of our clients. Whether that's translated to new builds is what we're going to find out in the next couple of months, because every year, periodically, we've actually seen the ups and downs of when people buy and sell, but also when people buy and pay attention to new builds. Typically for us is the end of the year, probably because the boat shows kick off everything. So you see new boats at Cannes and new boats at Monaco and new boats at Flibs, and it makes people start dreaming about next summer season or the year after that, if they're building a boat, or the year even after that. So, and then the holidays usually is when families come together, people slow down, even the busiest business person slows down. And then you slow down and you start looking at boat magazines and you start looking at Super Yacht News and you start looking at all these fantastic things out there and go, well, you know, maybe it's time for a little reflection, and what do I want to do, and what do I want to spend my next Christmas or my next, you know, holiday in. And that's when we start getting a lot of phone calls for new builds. And this week has picked up again. This past 2 weeks actually has picked up again for the new builds. So it's a good trend. We've seen clients coming in right now between as small as 20 meters for a custom build, which is not something you normally
custom build. Wow. Yeah,
which is something that you don't normally see because it's a little pricey to build that. Typically you see production boats, but there's not a lot of production boats available right now. Even it's cars, you know. So we're seeing 20 meters. We're seeing expedition style boats getting a lot more interest, and perhaps it's the apocalypse people thinking that they want to get away.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah. Honestly, it's the mentality of let's go down island, you know, and go as far away from everything and be free and not have all these rules around us of when we can open and when we can close and what have you. So we're seeing a lot more expedition style boats being asked about or asked for. And then we're having that mid 40 meter market, surprisingly, for some reason, and maybe it's the marinas are not as available for 50 and so forth bigger. But we're seeing a lot of the mid 40s, which we normally wouldn't see because people try to stretch out to that 499 GT number. But we're starting to see a lot more of that. So in the last, I'd say 3 weeks or so that we started, I'm seeing a lot more. These are all new build requests. So
you touched upon the sort of bucket list concepts. Do you feel now, because I know we've talked about it in the past, the sort of need to market the bucket list concept, the anything is possible concept to this new generation of clients? Do you think now is a more opportune moment than ever to sell yachting as that in that image?
Yes, but it's a dangerous path, right? Because, you know, we even thought about, you know, taking each day as it comes, you know, appreciating life, live for today kind of moments. But in the past, you know, before COVID, live for today meant something totally different than it does today. It's really not on brand to go out and say something like that, because it sounds insensitive when there's so many people that are suffering around the world. Whereas our meaning is, you know, live for now, work hard, enjoy your life. You know, there's only so many pennies you can make that before your life isn't going to change any further. You might as well start reaping the benefits of those. I think one thing that we could learn from 2008, when we had the economic crash that made wealth almost a negative thing to have. I'll give you a sidetrack example. Lewis Hamilton right now just won the 7th World Championship, and he's the talk of the town. You know, I'm a huge F1 fan. I was up on Sunday morning watching it at 5 a.m.
Very nice.
Yeah, and so when you watch these things and you've seen this guy that's at the top of his game, and the question that keeps being asked from him is, how come you haven't signed your new contract? And he can sign and earn as much as he wants from any team right now. And he's saying that it's not a good look for him to earn right now, or to showcase how much he's earning right now, when there's so many people actually suffering around the world. So if he's thinking about that, maybe other clients are also thinking about that it's not a good look. That happened back in 2008 when bankers and such were being attacked for the financial system breaking down. And for a while, it was a imaging issue for wealth to be showcased, you know?
Yeah.
And so it took a while for that curve to come back up. This year, when this was coming up, I actually had a conversation with my entire team, and I said, guys, we need to remind people, and specifically our wealthy clients, that it's not about them showing off wealth, but it's about the jobs that they create when they order a boat, when they buy a boat. You know, the marinas get filled up, the provisioning people get filled up, the repair shops get filled up, you know, the shipyards, and then all the people that the shipyards themselves not just employ, but their employees employ, and so forth, you know. And it actually stimulates the economy to see them spend millions of dollars. You know, it goes into the metal people, it goes into the lighting people. I mean, the designers, everybody benefits when things are purchased. So if we need consumer spending to go up in rice, we definitely need consumer spending to go up in metal boats, you know, and kind of stimulate us.
But having said that, I completely agree. I mean, we see it and we live it every day, and it employs this industry employs its own fascinating mini economy. But ultimately, I think we're still pretty poor as an industry at communicating that to the broader media.
That's exactly what you're asking me right now regarding the bucket list. I think that it's instead of maybe marketing the bucket list and trying to make people, hey, you know, you've checked that one off your list, or build a boat. Because I'm a huge proponent of building yachts. I think it's the most beautiful experience that you can actually have, to walk around something that you created or that you took part in it. And you can go, oh, we had an argument on that corner about something, and then we ended up doing this. But if we had done it differently, it would have been a completely different boat. It's a story, you know? So building a boat is a beautiful, beautiful experience for people if it's done right. But maybe that message right now would land on deaf ears of a bucket list. Maybe what we should be doing as a collective whole in the industry is speaking about how much we need our wealthy clients to buy boats so they can stimulate, you know, how much we need them and how much they actually matter to us, show them the appreciation that we really have on a day-to-day basis with them, but make it public, I genuinely love our clients for what they provide for us. Without them, we're nothing.
So talking of buying boats, commissioning boats, you mentioned that you'd seen a bit of an upturn in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, that follows not too long after the most recent edition of Flip.
Right.
Slightly controversial topic, because there were those who were saying it's irresponsible to put people in a not confined space, but bring people together when what we're trying to do is space them apart. There are others that are saying, well, if it can go ahead and it passes the health and safety test, then why not use this as a way to stimulate the market? So what was your take on the whole situation this year?
I would say that I'm always an unfiltered voice.
Good.
Sometimes I should be a little bit more careful. When this being my 20th year in the industry, I was actually around for SARS back in 2003.
Wow.
And I was building boats in Taiwan at the time. So I spent 2 weeks in Taiwan, in Kaohsiung, during SARS. So I was firsthand experienced as far as what goes on with these respiratory diseases. And I saw what they did over there, how they shut down restaurants and different things, and how everybody was wearing a mask, and the temperature controls, the washing the hands, which is exactly what we're doing now. It's no different. But I did see how obedient people were, to a degree, to the government standards. And the very first thing that I told my team in February, when we saw it really growing more and more and more over in Asia, is that if it's contained over there, we'll be fine. But if it actually spreads over to the West Coast or to the Western countries, it probably will go, wild like a fire, because we are not as open-minded to listening to restrictions. We actually very much love our freedoms. So
you said it, not me.
There's a sense of entitlement in that, in the way that we actually were established. And honestly, it's what's beautiful about this country and other was in the Western countries. But it also means that we're not going to move as quickly to listen to what some governments or different things might say. And that exactly is what happened. We didn't shut down early enough, or we didn't wear masks early enough, or whatever reasons. It's not just the administration; it's also the people. Because we don't need to listen to somebody to tell us that something's hot. We can make our own decisions. Yeah. And I think that's what we should be doing, anyways. But so with seeing all of that, we pulled out of the Palm Beach Boat Show early. We were probably one of the very first ones, if not the first ones, to pull out of the Palm Beach Boat Show in February, because we felt that it wasn't going to be a safe environment. I knew for a fact that nobody was going to be ready for it because it was just too soon. I saw what happened in SARS, and I thought there's no way that we're going to adhere to that. So we let time go by. We pulled out. We actually had a pretty big display going in there with numerous boats. And it was a hard decision for me because it was 20 years of doing that boat show. And to pull out of it was very nerve-wracking. We have clients that are depending on whether or not we're going to be able to sell their boats. So for the next 45 days, while from the Palm Beach Boat Show, and then we went into lockdowns and all these different things happened, for 45 days or so, I was wondering whether or not I made a mistake, and that was part of the domino effect that shut down too early, or what have you.
You were the catalyst.
Yeah, so I waited for a lot of the boat show to make a decision, and when I saw Disney World open up and handle it well, I also know that Disney World is ran very, very, very diligently. Universal Studios is right next to them, and they're not run the same way. Friends of mine that went to both would tell me exactly what was going on. So I thought just because Disney's doing it right doesn't mean that everybody else is going to adhere. But when I heard that the boat show was going to follow the same Disney rules, I thought, okay, then maybe we actually have a chance, and it was a tough one because the majority of the people that I spoke with, and I'm talking about industry people, did say that they didn't feel that they needed a boat show because we have been selling so many boats this year, and that it was an interruption, perhaps, to the way that we were flowing already. And a lot of the exhibitors did not participate this year. So there was, I would say, I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but I would say that there's probably 50% less, than I would normally have seen. So it was a different experience for our clients. I think it was good that the show happened. I got to be honest that I don't think that it was. They tried really hard, but people themselves didn't adhere to all the safety precautions. So again, going back to the government or the administration or the entity can set the rules, but people actually have to participate. And I did not see that as much as we would have liked, so it was not a completely safe environment. We did our best within our world. So we were masks and cleaning and all these different things. But maybe if it had been done a little bit later, where we had more time to plan how the show was going to be, we could have all taken more advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it seemed like it was just put together to be put together. It worked out, it was kind of like, let's all make it happen. So we're all going to put our energies forward to work out. We had a lot of clients come through, so we're blessed for that. And we thank the organizers for putting on the event itself. But then we also had a lot of other clients show up outside of the boat show. So I'm not 100% sure that it was the best way to do it, but it did kick off a new, I would say, a new confidence for all of us that, hey, we can host a show. And even if people don't adhere to it, we can control what happens on our boats. We can force people to adhere to it. And everybody was willing to listen. So whenever we had too many people on board, we made people wait outside, and they were actually willing to do that. So overall, I think the organizers took a big shot. I gotta give them a lot of respect because that's a scary one. But it will help the future boat shows, so that's important.
Yeah, and I guess catalysts for market recovery come in many shapes and forms. So we have to look at the positives as well as the negatives. And so jumping, and I apologize in advance for this, but jumping from one controversy to the next, just playing devil's advocate. Obviously, you are a proud stakeholder in the US super yacht market.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on US yacht building and its future? Is there a route back for US super yacht building, or does the US market lie in other areas? I mean, just to give you a sort of European example, Spain, it's not a yacht building nation, but it's a rich territory for super yacht activity in other forms: refit, repair, charter, cruising. And I just wondered your viewpoints. Do you see the US re-establishing itself as a yacht building force, or does it look elsewhere in terms of its industry?
Well, I've been pandering for US market to be up and running for years. And the biggest go USA guy ever, even though I build most of my boats, nearly all my boats in Europe. So as much as I love Europe and building over there, and I don't think that's going to change, I think that there's enough room in the industry for growth in other sectors. And I think that the U.S. market right now, if anything, is poised for growth. We can't travel. That's automatically going to benefit whatever country the person's in, whatever country that millionaire or billionaire is in. Is going to benefit that country because they can't go anywhere, so they're going to spend their money locally. We can't move a lot of our teams around. So rather than sending our teams over to Europe to a shipyard, we should be looking locally. So I think that the pandemic, if anything, is actually benefiting territorial kind of growth, right, in everything, whether it's farmers or whatever, but. I think in the U.S. market, for super yacht builds specifically, it should really, really be a great opportunity right now. We have ample craftsmen because the best sport fishing boats in the world are built over here. We're talking about massive, large sport fishing boats that go out, take a beating. They have to perform. They have to go into what super yacht ever goes into a contest to see how fast they can go? Whereas Vikings, all these sport fish boats that are built over here actually go out and try to get as fast as they can somewhere over an hour, 2-hour period to go fish for an entire day and fight it all out and then come back. These machines are built locally, by very talented craftsmen that can do the best of the best. The interiors are gorgeous. There's no reason why that can't translate to larger builds. So the reliability is already there. The craftsmanship's already there. They're doing beautiful paint jobs on these boats. And there's obviously opportunities for that. Financially, we're an extremely strong country. Litigious, we actually are extremely well set up for contracts. There's plenty of financing on the banking side of it. There's so many reasons why it makes sense to build in the U.S. And there's a lot of shipyards that were building commercial vessels that can translate to turning themselves into actual super yacht builders right now. So if our clients can't travel, we have the craftsmen, we have the space, we have the knowledge, and we have a 18 to 20% US to euro difference right now.
Yeah.
We need to take advantage of that right now. Otherwise, it's eventually going to come back around where the euro drops down to only a 5% difference, and then you're probably going to want to buy a Fed ship. So the reality is right now there's a 20% incentive to build in the U.S. There's a travel incentive to build in the U.S. You can jump on your private jet and be anywhere in 3 hours, 4 hours here. And you can build here and create jobs. And there's a lot of goodwill to be earned from building boats and creating jobs in the Americas right now. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I think you make a very good case for it. As we said at the beginning of the conversation, there is no bigger client pool than your domestic one. It is the engine room that drives that. Inadvertently sort of pays for all of us to eat and to live. So it's certainly from that point of view, I think you're absolutely right that the shift in external conditions may have a positive upturn on US yacht building. So just sort of bringing it around, and as you know, probably from the previous sessions, we sort of look to conclude by asking all our participants what your expectations are for the future. Are you optimistic for our future prosperity as an industry? And is there anything that you feel we need to act upon in order to ensure our future prosperity?
That's a very good one. I think that I'm very, very positive about the future of yachting. For better or worse, the pandemic actually was like a reset button in many ways. It was a reset button for how countries deal with each other, but it was also a reset button for ideologies and also core values for people. We were forced to be trapped with our spouses and figure out whether or not we can all get along. We were forced to spend time with our kids. We were forced to spend time away from people that we thought that we loved, or people that we realized we didn't love as much or need more, actually.
Yeah.
So it's kind of reset a lot of values for people, and that's really why yachting, why outdoor camping, and those kind of activities have grown so much this summer or this year, because it just brings people back to what matters. We're not seeing as much reality TV. We're not seeing as many concerts. We're not seeing as many different things that will normally take our attention away. So to me, it's an opportunity for the yachting industry to keep that momentum going now. Now that we saw that we reset values and we showed people how beautiful our experiences are, that you don't have to always order a tremendous bottle of champagne. You can actually have a sandwich on a boat and it'll be just as special. We need to build on this. We need to build on this, and we need to actually harp on it, and we need to create more opportunities. We need to improve the way that we manage boats for people. I think that's a major concern that I have as a person who spends 80% of the time in new builds and the other in brokerage. I always worry about how the boats are maintained and the experience that people actually have with the boats once they receive a boat. There are a lot of them are just kind of left on their own, and we go out of our way to make sure they're never left on their own, so they stay happy and want to continue doing this. Now that we created all the momentum this year, is going to be a bit of a test for the industry on how we help them. Are we going to offer them more management? That, I think, is something that needs to be addressed big time right now, because I see pitfalls already happening where we're going to end up having unhappy customers after the initial, joy goes away. So I think that's actually a big one. And then the other one that I think will help all markets, whether it's in Europe or the US or Asia or anywhere else, is that because we're unable to travel, everybody's now doing everything digitally, like we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been on every video service possible for all of our meetings, and it has helped my career and my growth tremendously. So I think that it can actually really help the industry as a whole, because a lot of designers, a lot of clients are going to be more static. They're not going to be on the road. They're not going to be anywhere else where they can't be reached. So we can actually have these kind of meetings today, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, whatever it may be, where it's convenient for a client. And if we start getting more designers involved with one-on-one meetings with clients, and we start looking at shipyards and bringing them also on the calls and doing the virtual tours of the shipyards, it might take away finally that one piece that we're always up against, and that's time. Our clients never have time. I would love to get into it, Barin, but I can't because I don't have enough time to get over to XYZ. I don't have enough time to go there. You don't have to anymore. And I think that Zoom and all these other services have proven that business can continue around the entire world just fine with a video call. It can be better once you do it in person, but a video call will do it just fine. You can FaceTime somebody as you walk through the entire shipyard, put it in a gimbal. It can look professional very inexpensively, and we can take away that one obstacle that we're always running up against, and that's our client's time. So I think from the digital side of it, I'm extremely happy to see everybody finally jumping on this, because it will mean growth. In the next few years, you will probably see, for those that are intelligent enough to use it, I think it will mean a lot of growth in the next 5-6 years. And it will also mean that we spend less money on travel and expenses. That means that we can then invest back into our businesses, or into our pockets, because we are in this industry to make a little bit of money.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Barin, I know you are a digital trailblazer, but I also hope that in the not too distant future, the two of us can get together and have a chat in person. But in the meantime, just want to thank you for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you.
My pleasure, Will. I think we'll never, ever take for granted a beer again.
Exactly. You know it. All right. Thanks, Barin.
A pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.